are the Farmer family, and we have been missionaries for most of our lives.
We've been on some pretty epic adventures, and we thought it was about time to take you along. In this episode, we will answer some of your most asked questions. What's the weirdest thing we've ever eaten? What do we miss the most about the U.S.? And why are we even missionaries? And keep watching to the end, and we will share with you how you can help keep missionaries on the field. What does a missionary do?
A missionary help people and make sure they are safe. Missionaries tell people about Jesus. Missionary tell people about Jesus in different countries.
Missionaries do lots of different things, and it depends on the type of missionary that you are. I'm a missionary pilot, so I fly airplanes, and I fly missionaries around and do all kinds of things with the airplane. There's other missionaries that are school teachers, other missionaries that are administrators. Lots of missionaries are church planters, and they're going to areas that there's predominantly not Christians, and they're planting churches, winning souls and planting churches. But you name it, there's probably a job that missionaries do. So missionaries wear lots of different hats, and we don't just do one job, we do lots of different jobs. But yeah, missionaries do lots of different things.
You can probably take any profession, any gifts or talents that you have and use it for missions in some way or another. Even like computer, office work, answering the telephone, multimedia stuff, like about anything you can think of can be involved in missions or serving the Lord in one way or the other.
All right, why are we missionaries?
Because we want to help people. I don't know.
So I do a lot of hospitality. We have a lot of groups that are coming and going, and because Jasson transports a lot of different people, and a lot of times they'll stay at our house or we'll provide some food for them, which is a fun ministry for our whole family to be involved in. The kids enjoy having people over to our house as well. I also do a lot of the multimedia stuff for UIM Aviation. I do social media, make videos, email updates, printed materials, which is something I really love doing, and I've learned a lot through the years. I can do that as flexible as my schedule is, with the kids and staying at home. I can do that whenever I have some free time.
And then I guess, on top of flying, there's lots of different things that I do. I also do a lot of administrative work down here for our base. I'm also a check pilot, so we have a new pilot down here, and I'm involved in his training and getting him trained up and checked out in these different airstrips. We organize a lot of different teams. We organize medical clinics, medical groups. I meet with different pastors. I meet with different people. Like I've got a meeting coming up with a guy that works for an ambulance company, seeing how we might be able to help each other out. That's coming up this next week. There's lots of different things that we do, lots of different things that I do just beyond the whole flying part. We also do a lot of the maintenance of the aircraft down here. Our heavy maintenance happens up in Tucson, but there's also some maintenance that happens down here, and so we're involved in maintaining the aircraft that we fly. And there's just lots of things that kind of go into making this base and making this airplane operation work down here.
So why do we do what we do? What's the reason behind it?
When I first got challenged into missions, I used to think that missions was a done deal. I thought that pretty much everybody had access to the gospel, and man, was I wrong. I realized, at that point there was over 3,000 different languages that don't even have one verse of the Bible in their language. And I think, that number has actually been whittled down in the 20 years that we've been involved in ministry. And now I think it's down to about 2,000 different languages that don't even have one verse in their one verse of the Bible in their own language. And so, just being able to see God's word go out to people that have never heard and never had the chance to hear. I was really challenged by stories of indigenous folks coming to missionaries and saying, please send me a missionary. I don't want to go to the place where the fire burns. And the Lord really used that to challenge me to, if God can use me to help see the gospel go to the ends of the earth, then that's really what challenged me to want to be a missionary.
Yeah, I think your reasons behind being a missionary will really keep you on the mission field. Since we're down here because we love God and we want to serve Him, and as long as He's leading and guiding us, we'll be down here as long as He wants. Some people go to the mission field because they love the people. Well, there'll be at times during your ministry where you don't love the people so much because they can be difficult to work with. Some people go to the mission field because they want excitement and adventure, and though being on the mission field is exciting and adventurous, that can get wearing over time, and it's not so exciting anymore. And so when those things peter out, then oftentimes people will leave the field and go home. So if you're thinking about being a missionary, you want to really examine yourself and say, okay, what's the reason behind me wanting to do this? Any other reasons that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it comes down to, God's just laid a burden on people's hearts to see the lost reached with the gospel. And I think if you ask the majority of missionaries, and that would be why they're here, is to see the lost reached with the gospel.
Where does a missionary live?
In Mexico.
So missionaries live in lots of different places. When I first went into missions, I was planning on moving out in the middle of a jungle somewhere and living in a hut next to all the other indigenous folks. Some missionaries live on a base, or it's a base, and it's all missionaries around them. You're inside of a big wall. Other missionaries get to live in the towns and the cities. We live in the town. There's a town of about 500,000 to 1 million people, and we just rented a house in the middle of the town, and that's where we live here in central Mexico. Missionaries live all over. Sometimes they live out in the bush, sometimes they live in the cities. So missionaries can live everywhere, but they're scattered throughout the world.
What weird things do missionaries eat?
They eat grasshoppers. They eat worms. They eat bugs.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
A grasshopper.
What did it taste like?
Burnt shrimp.
What weird things do missionaries eat?
Chongos. Cattails.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Chongos.
What are chongos?
They're like cheese. It's like go up and it's so good.
Micah will eat it.
Micah? Micah likes it. Kate? Yes, missionaries eat weird food. It's not always by choice. When we were in Papua New Guinea, we thought the weirdest thing we were going to have to eat was one of those big fat grubs. Thankfully, I never had to eat one. We saw some while we were there, but never had to eat one of those. We've eaten crickets. I've eaten cattails, not tails off of a cat, but cattails like you would see in a pond. I've eaten some of those, cooked in coconut milk. I've eaten cactus. There's just lots of different weird things, but definitely in Mexico, the food is very good. I do love the food, probably a little too much down here in Mexico.
Do missionaries have to learn another language?
Yes, they need to learn Spanish. They need to learn ritual.
What languages do you know?
I kind of know a little bit of Spanish and I know English.
Do missionaries have to learn another language?
If they go to a country that speaks a different language, they will. So we're in Mexico, so we've learned Spanish. We went to language school for 9 months in Guadalajara. I actually had 3 kids at that time and took them along with us to language school. So that was definitely a challenge, being a mom and trying to take care of an infant, homeschooling my kids, and trying to learn Spanish. But I have a working knowledge of Spanish. It would be nice if it could grow and expand, which I work on as much as I can, but the language is probably one of the biggest challenges that we've had being missionaries, is that awkwardness of not sure if you understood what the person was saying correctly, and not knowing exactly how to communicate your thoughts it's not the most comfortable situation to be in.
Yeah, language is probably one of the biggest challenges or hurdles that a missionary will, when they first get to the field, have to overcome. We work with 3 different people groups, and they all speak a different language. I know maybe just a couple greetings and a few of those. So I haven't learned those, but I'm not in there teaching the Bible in those different languages. I'm supporting missionaries that are. So, I mean, there's a few cases where you might not need to know that specific language, but the more that you know, the better it's going to serve you, and the better you'll be able to communicate, especially as you communicate the truth of the gospel. It's super important to know the language and know the culture right alongside of the language, because sometimes if you don't know the culture, you can't communicate effectively.
Do missionaries wear funny clothes?
Yes. In the ritual clothes, girls wear dresses, and boy clothes, they wear like pants and long sleeves.
But do the missionaries wear those clothes?
No, they wear normal clothes.
Do you wear funny clothes?
No. The Indians wear a dress.
What about you? Do you wear funny clothes?
No.
So do missionaries wear funny clothes?
I don't know. Do my clothes look funny?
You're asking the wrong person.
I used to always think when I grew up in church, I used to always look at missionaries coming, and I used to always think they were stuck in the 80s, that their clothes were super outdated. Now that we're missionaries, I hope we don't look funny. I don't know.
I do understand where they're coming from now, because after being on the field for a year or two and going back to the States, sometimes it's like, wow, that's what's in style now. The baggy mom pants and the crop tops, and like I won't necessarily fit in with those styles.
Who can be a missionary?
A lot of people can be a missionary. Anyone believes in Jesus?
I think anybody could be a missionary. Any believer in Christ could be a missionary. I think maybe a trend that we're seeing is a lot of people are coming on short-term trips and trying to be a missionary that way. Short-term trips can be very effective, but I think we're seeing less and less of the full-time, long-term missionaries coming to the mission field, and there's still a great need for that. There's still a great need to see full-time, long-term missionaries, people ready to commit their lives to mission and serve in that manner, more than just a week or a 2-week thing, but really to years and years, because it takes a long time to do some of this work, and just learning the language and the culture and just building relationships is a long time thing coming in order to really see a lot of fruit effectively. So yeah, anybody can be, but there is quite a big of a commitment, to really be a missionary. It does take a big commitment, and somebody that's, willing to do that.
How long have we been missionaries?
A long time. We have been missionaries for 10 years, as old as me.
We were accepted into New Tribes Mission in 2004 after going through their training for 4 years. And at that point, we started raising our support to go to Papua New Guinea. At that point, we were thinking about going into a tribal location and church planting. But once we kind of got into the language and culture, we realized that we're gifted in different areas. And at that point, Jasson decided to come home and pursue flight training. So after being there for a year, it was sad to leave and come back to the States for more training. But
yeah, we always thought we'd go back there, but the Lord kind of had different plans after all my flight training and mechanic training was over, and He ended up leading us down here to Mexico, which has been a great fit for us and a great place. And we've been down in Mexico for 10 years now. And so, yeah, sometimes it's hard to believe that much time has passed, and other times it feels like we've been down here forever. So yeah, I guess we've been in missions, we've been missionaries officially for 18 years now, and down in Mexico for 10, and in New Guinea for a year, and then a couple of years of training in there as well. So.
But through all of those transitions and all the training and living on the mission field, I mean, we've seen God work in some pretty mighty ways, and see Him lead and guide in ways that at that time we couldn't see it, but looking back now, we say, yes, okay, this is how the Lord was leading us and training us to prepare for our time here on the mission field.
What do you miss the most about America?
I miss being with my grandpas, and I miss going to McDonald's. and I miss getting fancy drinks. I miss fancy clothes. I miss being with my grandma and my cousins. I miss my family. I miss Josiah. I play video games with Josiah.
So what do you miss most about America?
Probably our family. We have lots of family up in the States and that we're pretty close to, and we've missed out on some big family events, weddings and family reunions. We miss Christmas and a lot of other important holidays. We are thankful for technology, though. It's really nice to be able to call my mom just like she was down the streets and be able to FaceTime with the grandparents. What do you miss the most?
Yeah, family's probably number one. I guess, we miss our church. We miss being able to just, fellowship in English and worship in English. Miss some of that. I definitely miss driving in the U.S. The U.S. is so much better to drive in. The roads are so much better. There's less traffic. There's just a lot of reasons I like driving up there better. We miss some of the cool things in America, the great restaurants that we have. I love Mexican food. But yeah, we miss some of those things in the States. Texas Roadhouse is always one of our favorites when we go back. We miss some of that. I forgot what else.
Customer service is a big thing.
Yeah, customer service is a big one. And one of the things I really miss is here in Mexico, there's a lot of red tape and everything, whether I'm filing a flight plan, that's a huge ball of wax, and, or we're getting our visas, or we're trying to work on car paperwork. There's just so much red tape that's involved. So I miss some of those simpler procedures, and life in America is just super easy and great. Like we really miss, we don't realize how nice it is in America, when you're living there, but when you leave, you realize, all the niceties in America that we don't have in other countries. What do you love about Mexico?
Being with my friends. I like my house in Mexico. I like my friends in Mexico.
There's a lot. We really love the ministry we're part of, and we love seeing what God does in the lives of the people. And I think that's probably what I love the most. Beyond that, we love Mexico. We love the beaches. We love the culture. We love the food.
Fresh fruit. We get lots of fresh mangoes and avocados that are significantly cheaper here than in the States. So I love cooking with that.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun things to do in Mexico. We love all those adventures. It's part of why we make these videos, to take you guys along on some of those fun adventures that we get to do down here in Mexico.
How can the church in America help missionaries?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of things the church can do to help missionaries. Of course, definitely praying for your missionaries is huge. Missionaries are sitting on the front battlegrounds, spiritual battlegrounds, and there's a lot of oppression to that. And so, pray for your missionaries that are in the midst of some of those spiritual battles.
Even communicating with them to find out what their prayer needs are goes a long way. Just knowing that you guys are thinking about us and praying about us, that's super encouraging.
And, supporting missionaries, that's always a huge thing. I mean, we couldn't be here if we didn't have our churches and friends supporting us to be down here. That's a huge one. I also think, too, just encouraging your missionaries. We've seen a lot of missionaries, and we get to work with a lot of missionaries, and missionaries often come home very discouraged from the field. Maybe their ministry is doing great, or maybe their ministry really isn't, and they can be facing a lot of discouragements. And so I think as best as the churches can, you should just love on your missionaries and love on those guys, because those guys, are sacrificing a lot. The missionaries that we serve, that's kind of our motto. The missionaries that we fly for, we see everything that they're sacrificing, and we see a lot of the hardships they go through. And as best as we can, we want to love on those missionaries that are up in the mountains that I'm flying for, and same for all the missionaries coming through to your churches and stuff. I mean, just love on those guys, and and just listen to them, hear their stories, encourage them in whatever ways that you could. I think that's the best way, because missionaries have given up a lot to come down and do these things and to live in a foreign country, and the more the church can just love on it and just really show your appreciation for what missionaries do can go a long ways to even keeping a missionary on the field and keeping them serving where God has them.
I think our churches have done a really good job in encouraging us and loving on us. Like when we go to the States and visit the churches, Some of them have done special things for us, like one time they sent us, our whole family, to a water park for the day, and that was awesome. Or taking us out to eat, or little gifts for our kids to make their travels more special, and just things like that. Just asking how our ministry is doing down here, and as a mom, how's that going? And yeah, our churches have been very encouraging over the years.
Yeah, or even just loving on the kids. Sometimes our kids really get spoiled at some of the places we go, and it's great. It's great for them to be able to enjoy some of those things. So, yeah, I guess as best as you can, just love on your missionaries when you have them there. So thanks for joining us on another epic missionary adventure. Like and subscribe. Shoot us any questions that you might have. We'd love to answer some questions. Do kind of a Q&A sometime. So definitely shoot us any questions that you might have, or things that you want to see down here. Yeah, shoot those out to us in the comments below. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next epic adventure.
See you later. Thanks so much for praying for us.
Ayah!